Well, good morning. I'm Reita Smith, and at this time, I am the chairperson of the Preston Poindexter Foundation. And it is my pleasure, and I'm so pleased the committee has worked so hard to create this exhibit which tells the story in part about Poindexter Village. Poindexter Village was a very unique place, and the one item that we can't bring to this wonderful exhibit is the importance of what families felt and appreciated about being a part of Poindexter. That feeling of community, that feeling of safety, that feeling of value was all a part of Poindexter Village. It was so much more than brick and mortar. I lived there in the 50s with my children, and I could place my young babies out in the yard, and my neighbors looked after them. They were always safe and secure. The play area was the way it was built. It was really built like a village because you had a courtyard in between the buildings, and that was the playground for the young people of the community. Your neighbor was your family. The values, the dignity, there was high standards. If you misbehaved, you were asked to leave. And that was the kind of community that all communities want, even today, but it's missing in our story. But the stories that we get, every person that we interview tells about that safety, that sense of community. So, but even though this is wonderful, if we could just add the feelings, it would be perfect. It would be like smell-o-vision if you could bring that to this exhibit. But the exhibit tells you what the community was like. And if we really understood how Columbus developed as an Afro-American community, if you followed our communities across the city, it would always give you that sense of community. But this exhibit describes how that process occurred. We did come here through the Great Migration and found safety, even when it was the blackberry patch. It might have been rundown houses, but it was so much safer than being from what they had left in the Deep South. So the blackberry patch, they talk about the smells of the fish fry on Friday. Don't we wish we had that smell-o-vision right now? But from the blackberry patch to the construction of Poindexter Village, the blackberry patch wasn't the whole area. We lost some other good housing even then, but it came through Franklin D. Roosevelt when he came for the dedication. The day nursery, which had been created to give relief for parents that had to do their domestic work. That was where their children went, which was right along on Ohio Avenue, right up the street from Poindexter. But all those children lined the streets when President Roosevelt came through. Now my sisters, who are 88 and 89, can remember. Even today, they said they could almost touch the president when he came through for that dedication that day. But we have to remember, Poindexter was built not as public housing, but affordable housing. It was built after the Great Depression, and there was a problem with housing and economics all across this country. So Poindexter was a part of that solution for Afro-American communities. Remember, it was during segregated times, so it was built primarily for black people. And when they built it with love and with values and expectations for working families to have affordable housing. And it was that transition period that it allowed them to save money and then go and purchase their own homes. So it was a transitional situation for so many families.